Hey folks, Marcus here from the Ashland Fly Shop. We're back with another episode of Beginning Spey Tactics, and today's more of a note about casting. And I was really thinking about when I was beginning spey fishing, and one of the things that happened really often for me when I was beginning is that my casting would just fall apart. And the thing I want to talk about today is probably the easiest way to understand and correct what's going on in those casting issues as they break down. So the biggest thing that I think of is your DLoop tells the story of your cast. It lays it all out there behind you. And if you grew up single hand casting like I did and trout fishing, where there's a lot of action in close, say there's fish rising and you're really prone to looking, directly at your target and watching what's going on directly in front of you, some of that forward focused attention is hard to learn as you start to spey cast. But in the spey cast, when you come around the side of your body, you really want to swivel your body and you want to look to your shoulder that you're casting off of, and you want to watch that DLoop come behind you. Because no matter the line setup, whether it's a Scandi line, a mid-belly line, a Skagit line, a Commando line from OPST, you're going to want to see a DLoop form off to your side. And when you see that loop forming, what that's telling you is that your anchor has pulled from being upstream and is starting to come directly in line with your forward stroke. And that is a huge thing to think about and to pay attention to. And it's easy, easy to say, but over time, it's kind of hard to actually do. And sometimes, especially when you're in really a fishing mindset, which I definitely in the beginning of my spey fishing experience was totally in just a die-hard fishing mindset. Like I just wanted to make things happen on the water. And I didn't know that spey casting is such a visual experience, and that by looking at that DLoop form back behind me, I could actually increase the accuracy and the turnover of my forward cast. So you'll see as I spey cast, it's pretty rare that I don't swivel my hips, and also you can just watch kind of the line of my chin. It doesn't stay on path with my target. It's not focused directly on where my fly is going to land. My face and my neck twists over, and with my peripheral vision, I'm always looking out to the side that my DLoop is coming. And it often happens, it still happens with me when I'm in a spot and I'm, say in a run like this, I might snap tee all the way down the run, and I'll get into a groove where I don't necessarily need to be super focused on that DLoop. But as things maybe slow down, I'll want to do a double spey and swing more broadside, and I'll come around on a double spey and I'll look straight forward, and it just won't come out the way I want to. And that's because the timing and the setup of the double spey is a little differently. And I might forget through the run or through a day of fishing that as I switch casts, if I watch my DLoop form off the side, I can actually see that that energy is built into the cast. So it's a really important thing to think about in your fishing. So there's a lot of common errors that we find in spey casting, and a long time ago John did a video for the shop called Faults and Fixes, where you can kind of dive into some of those common errors that go on in the cast. But if you're not watching your DLoop and watching your rod tip as it tracks, it's kind of tough to understand what might be going wrong if you're not applying enough power, or if you're applying too much power and you get a tailing loop or a collision loop. It's important to watch what's happening in your cast, and you can see what's going right and what's going wrong. And I think that's something that when you begin spey casting from the very first time that you hit the water, instead of just being so focused on, you know, there's a seam downriver and you want to be right off that seam and swinging through that water, just slow it down. Take a pause. Think about what's going on in the cast more than what's going on the surface of the water or the structure down below. Just watch that rod tip, build that D-loop, let it go. Because over time, as you get used to the visual element of the cast, you're just going to serve yourself down the road. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope watching the D-loop, watching the rod tip path helps you in your spey fishing.